Hello and welcome to Pursuit 365's show on spirituality. I am your host, Rani Sanghera, holistic healer, psychedelic guiding coach, and yoga teacher. Today, I'm excited to have our next guest, Katerina Klimes. She is a alchemist and she does sound baths and she works with magnesium. Katerina, thank you so much for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
I guess my usual response to that is I'm not really as I seem. Um, I'm originally from the Czech Republic. I I was spent like 2 years in a refugee camp in Germany when we escaped through Yugoslavia through the border in the middle of the night because the boat. So I'm not really as I seem because I speak like I'm a native Anglo, like I can fit in here. But truthfully, like I'm a fantastic medley of culture, trauma, and coming through it on the other side. I have 3 children. I'm married. I have a dog, and I've been probably doing this my whole life, but I started doing magnesium about 17, 18 years ago, and it was 100% a transforming experience.
So, what inspired you to start Mila Earth?
Hmm. Um, at the time, I have always made products because my mom was an esthetician, and I always had like really good premium quality cosmetics for free. I had free services, like I was being waxed when no one else was being waxed. Um, Very uncomfortable if it's your mother. Um, but then I moved to Asia on my like third, almost on the eve of my 30th birthday. And basically, I cut myself away from the supply. And suddenly I was in Asia and I was in a very different environment. And I didn't like any of the products. I didn't like the bleaches they were adding. I didn't like any of that. So then I started slowly to make products for me. And then because this is literally my personality and I end up talking to everybody. Everybody told me what their issues were, what things were happening with them. So I started to try to make products for other people. But the thing that isn't clear is that I didn't really 100% understand what was happening to me physiologically for a long time.
Mhm.
I did everything that I thought was right. But truthfully, like I had heart palpitations, I had massive amounts of anxiety, I had restless legs, I had cramps, I had chronic migraines, I had blurry vision, like light sensitivity. And I would say that even like maybe my mood swings were too extreme because I was chronically magnesium deficient. And I had, I have light skin, but I had way lighter skin in my like 30 and under, and I would chronically burn and get blisters. And by discovering magnesium, I actually like cured the melanin in my skin. I figured out all of these things as I went along. And so I really honestly did all of it 100% for my own selfish reasons. I wanted to be conscious, balanced, have the best quality of life possible, and I definitely didn't think that like it was bad. Like I make it sound all light and stuff, but I mean, I really honestly thought in my 20s that I could potentially be mentally ill.
Mm.
No one could ever knew that. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
like going to school, you're getting all your scholarships, grade A's, you know what I mean? Everything was, I had good grades, right? But I really thought for a number of years that I was going to get schizophrenia because I was so light and sound sensitive here, right?
Mm.
And so then I wanted magnesium really bad for many years, but I didn't know how to get it. And I knew that I didn't want Epsom salts because Epsom is only 10% absorption. And I knew that I didn't want to be eating processed magnesium pills that only have that low 8 to 20% absorption. And I knew that it would wreak havoc on my already fragile gut. So I kept looking and looking and looking. And it was honestly like I had recipes and things I wanted to make and things I wanted to share with the world
Mm-hmm.
way before I even had the magnesium. And then one time I went and I ordered a bag of Epsom salts from a supplier, but I was ordering in Mandarin because we were living in Taiwan. And like the Chinese word is just like English, right? You have magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride. So
Right.
in Mandarin, magnesium is Mei, right? Like, so I ordered in my mind Mei, and then what came is instead of Epsom, I got magnesium chloride. And from that day forward, my life has been transformed because then I thought I literally won the lottery. I was like, oh my goodness, they just gave me a bag of magnesium chloride.
Mm.
And then that was it. But mostly I had children right around this. I was pregnant before I started the company, and I didn't want my children to have any toxic products. I knew far too much about ingredients and fillers and alcohol and all the
Mm-hmm.
preservatives. There are natural preservatives, there are natural things that we can get. Products should be 100% active. There should be everything beneficial, just like if you go into the forest, you don't have negative things happen to you
Yeah.
unless there's a mosquito. Um,
Or bear.
But even the mosquito isn't bad. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
mosquito it gives you, it might bite you and it releases some of your histamines. So it depends on perspective, right?
Mm.
But I 100% was doing it because I wanted to have the best quality life. And then I started making it only for friends. I had zero intention of making it a business. The
Right.
business happened by demand.
Word of mouth. People started using it. They started to get
Yeah.
better. They
I
told their
didn't have a
friends.
website for the first 6 years.
Wow.
I Everything was on Facebook, and I would post in like the buy and sell, and people would tell other people. Taiwan had really affordable shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So you could ship like something like, this size, like a small package, just 3 different bags for 60 cents, a dollar, $2. So I would ship all over the island. I would ship to Canada. I would ship
Mm-hmm.
back home. And shipping from Taiwan to Canada was faster and cheaper than shipping within the province.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know, and I, because I've spoken with you and I know that you have a deep appreciation for all things natural. And because there's so many preservatives and other additives and dyes in our food that it correlates with the numbers of diseases that have been on the rise, for example, cancer and different types of cancer, and cancer showing up in younger patients, for example, colon
Hmm.
cancer, which was only seen in people above 60, is now being seen in adults as young as 30 years old. So
Or even children.
even children, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a real movement to go natural, to eat natural foods, to eat around your community. And that also goes with, which ties into spirituality. And when we're not eating natural things and we're not using natural products, it kind of cuts us off.
Yeah.
It cuts
Yeah.
us off from that source or God or whatever you want to call it. There is there is almost like a wall being built, and
Have
tell
you
me about
like
what you think about that.
there was a couple workshops that I did, like foraging workshops. I mean, sound therapies I will always do, but I always do everything like I stack everything. Everything is I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But there was
Mhm.
this one foraging workshop that we were doing, and I didn't eat all day because was getting ready for the workshop. And then we I went and I picked some wild foraged stuff, that I would just make a tea. And I remember going there, and it was like this 3.5 hour workshop. It was now well into the afternoon. I do intermittent fast, but it was way past what I would normally do on a workshop day. And I remember having this tea, drinking like that, because I had to carry everything, this tiny little cup, right? And I drank it. And I suddenly felt completely full, completely nourished, completely balanced and whole. And I remember for me, that experience was really vital because I suddenly realized that it is not the quantity of food that you're shoving into your mouth, but the energetic exchange between
Mm.
you and the environment.
Mm.
So the other day, I had lunch with someone, and they were saying like, I'm so hopeful, people are really understanding what's going on environmentally, that they're making the better choices. And I would be
Mhm.
like, I am a positive person. I 100% believe this is happening, but I'm also very deeply aware that 80% of people will go shopping and they buy food in a box,
Yeah.
and they don't seem to be reading the ingredients nor who is making it. So there is an energetic exchange between you and the plants, but also you and the creator of whoever made that.
Mm.
So if like I have the best intentions for creating products, my products will be different than someone else who's mass manufacturing them, where it is removed from that spiritual, emotional alchemy. I'm going
Yeah.
to call it alchemy,
Yeah.
because like everything is complicated now. Like we talk about scalar energy and frequencies and light therapy, and then there's psychedelics, and there's all these different things, and people are not really understanding, or no one is saying it, that there is only one energy. And you can break that down into solfeggio or the golden ratio, or even the periodic table, not that one, but there's another periodic table that breaks it into really a wave, which is again frequency and light and energy, and everything is the same. Like everything is the same. So I believe that if you follow a path where you are seeking pure light and energy, you will be successful and see the next journey in your health, wealth, manifestations, creativity, happiness. I would
Mhm.
rather have a glass of water than go to a store and um, eat a box of food, no matter how hungry I was.
There's that energetic exchange, especially when you're growing your own food and you're tending to your garden and you're the one watering it. There's that energetic exchange that happens there. And then when you forage it and you give thanks to it and then you eat it with your family, there's a ceremony and ritual that also takes place. And all of that is enriching. And all of that feeds us in different ways.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would say that for me, in my mind, a really huge component of that, though, is the water. Like for me, water is the blood, the lifeline of the earth. And I personally, everyone has their choices. I personally do not drink water from the tap unless I'm like brushing my teeth. It's in the middle of the night and I need to swallow something. Other than that, I don't drink tap water. I literally get my water from Lynn Valley Headwaters.
Oh, just up here from the springs.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. Beautiful.
But I'm a big follower of like Veda Austin, right? I've read The Power of Water, and I've read all of those books years and years ago, like decades ago.
Mm.
I've been in Canada for 7 years, so it's like we're talking like 30 years ago. I'm old. So I've been doing that for ages, and I do think that the natural structure of the water is implicitly very powerful in what you're doing.
Okay.
That I'm not saying you need to get it from a spring though. There are alternatives.
Can you explain that a little more? Why are you choosing spring water over tap water?
So, number one, tap water travels for many, many kilometers and it loses its structure. So, it is flat and dead structurally. If you can take like a petri dish, you can take, and it's called crystallography. You can put water into a petri dish, just a little bit, you put into the freezer, and you can put intention onto it and it'll freeze in those shapes, but you can actually see the natural structure. So inland valley headwaters, when you do crystallography, it kind of looks like ferns when it
Yeah.
freezes. If you do it to tap water, it doesn't do that. On top of that, even if it's only tiny minuscule amounts, then natural spring water, so aquifer, hot springs, and ocean water, they all will have a little bit of magnesium chloride, which is the way that what I do with products, which is 80% transdermal. It's to me, it's not, it's about getting the living elements out of the water as much as possible. Now, that said, you can have a really great filtration system. Maybe you're living in Dubai. Do you know what I mean? There's not going to be a spring there. And and you can get a really great filtration system, but I would say if you get like a hydrogen water machine, put intention onto your water. Put your water out during the full moon so that it gets re-energized.
Hmm.
You can put it into a singing bowl, right? You can sing a mantra to your water, right? Like there are so many things you can do. If you like the original idea of us sitting down before our food and praying was us energizing, re-energizing that food.
Mm.
And I think if we all just take 3 long breaths and give thanks for that day or for the plenty that you have, I don't care how hungry you are, if you give thanks, it'll be more nourishing than without it.
Mm. Wow, I love that. I love that. I think giving thanks for it as well develops a greater appreciation for that food and the
Hmm.
work that went into that food for the people that grew it, for the people that harvested it, for the people that
Yeah,
cooked it, for the all the steps along the way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't
beautiful.
know. I'm personally, I think that for most people, I am a bit of an extremist because I dive. So like when we were in Asia, we were mostly like fruitarian. We ate mostly vegetarian. And then as the kids got older, they really wanted meat, right? And when we moved to Canada, I didn't know what to eat. So like I have been so then I was unhappy with meat production. So like when I was unhappy with meat production, I went and I got rabbits, right? Don't bark. I went and I got rabbits, and for like an entire year, maybe it was a little bit longer, the only meat that we ate was meat that from start to finish was me, which is something that most people will not do, right?
But I mean, our listeners out there and people watching, there are other options. You can go to a local farm and have your
Yes,
meat butchered, which is what I do. You can get local eggs. You
yes,
can get local
yes.
milk. You can get unpasteurized milk, even if you look hard enough. You can find those
I
products.
think that I would like your source of unpasteurized milk. Eggs, I literally do in my house. I People pick up eggs from my house.
Hmm.
I do like a lot of farm to table kind of little secret groups, help people get better stuff. Unpasteurized milk you can. I did it more, I don't know, I think I did the rabbit thing more because I wanted to see if I could do it.
Mm.
And and then what happened was, from that, what happened was really was a deep spiritual practice, whereas suddenly I had to really make sure that I was calm, that I understood. You know what I mean? I had to understand my
Mhm.
motivation, that I was doing this to feed the children, that at the same time, every rabbit had to have a good life, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were our pets. We love them, right? But so we sold quite a few as pets, actually, but it was definitely like, I feel like everyone should have that as part of their education, to
Yeah.
understand, you know what I mean? Whether it's growing and farming, or knowing like where your milk comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
should.
you don't have to own a cow. But I mean, it would be really great if like every third family had a goat. Like if every third family had a chicken coop and a goat, you would not have to go travel very far.
No. Well, I mean, chicken coops are definitely showing up a lot more
Yep.
in North Vancouver, which is where we're both located.
Yeah.
Our neighbors have some chickens, so but yeah, I wonder if you could get away with a goat.
I think a goat you could, because it's technically considered. There is a rule about
Mhm.
there is a rule. There is a rule.
There is
There's
a rule.
there's definitely a rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that especially if you live in the city, I grew up in a small town in northern BC, and we knew where our food came from, and a lot of it was grown in our backyard. And my dad was a hunter. But if you come to the city, it's just a thing that shows up from the store. Like there's no
Yeah.
understanding of how it got there. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really big gap in that education
Mm-hmm.
system. I think there has to be more about that, and more knowledge, and more just more hands-on stuff for them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and even like this idea, like I'm always surprised at how many people to this day don't know what the word biohack means, or biodynamic, when it comes to food production.
Mhm.
I'm always surprised when people pause and they go, but what is that? And they're always looking for this magical word called organic. And I'm like, nope, I want biodynamic. I want the ugly potatoes and the ugly. And if
Yeah.
there's anything that we should have learned, recently read, I recently finished, like a couple days ago, I finished, his name is Forrest. Oh, I forget his last name. He wrote a book called Moth in the Iron Lung. It's about the wait, polio. It's
Yeah.
about polio, but it's not about polio. It's not about polio. It's about food production and heavy metals, and being part of the land, and understanding where things were coming from,
Mm.
and understanding neurotoxins, and what they were doing, what they have been doing to our children, and our children, what they've been doing to our children
Yeah.
for, hundreds of years at this point. It's been, definitely over 100 years of unnecessary tragedy. And a lot of it comes down, like, I like during the pandemic, we would have like a workshop over at our house, and my husband would teach everybody and help them make planter box.
Mm.
Just a planter box, right?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
thing is that if you have a planter box, and then you can have a bag, so in the bag you can grow potatoes, and you have a little tiny planter box, you can at least grow radishes. Radishes mature in 45 days,
Wow.
right? Like there
Yeah.
are things that we can, and they don't take very much space. Do you know what I mean? Like you can
Mhm.
have one radish after another, and then you can pull those guys out and start a new batch, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's like, you can have like two harvests a season, which in Canada is unheard of. but like it's just this connection to our food. And like I love, I don't know where you do most of your shopping, which I would love to pick your brain about where you do it. um but I, for example, one of my favorite farmers markets for food supply, I'm not saying it's my favorite market because I have a favorite based on where I have the most loyal customers and clients. uh like I still need to survive, right? I need to survive. But my favorite food market is the Coquitlam Farmers Market,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is not the one you would think. You would think Squamish or Whistler or even White Rock, and Ladner is amazing. Ladner is like, it's a show. It's it's like a carnival slash farmers market slash kids entertainment with like three
Mhm.
different live musicians. It's
That's
crazy. But Coquitlam Farmers Market that happens on Sunday, 100% worth the drive. They have like
mm,
Forest Bower, which is like an organic biodynamic family that's been doing it for ages. They have a Broken Grain, which is this lovely, fantastically eccentric farmer. He looks a little bit like Moses, um, in my mind, who grows completely pure and clean food in Mission.
mhm.
And he has, for example, by far, it happens at the end of September. You have to wait, be patient
Right.
in BC. He's the only person that I know that grows watermelon, big
Oh.
watermelon.
Hmm.
But the watermelon, because it's grown off biodynamic soil, tastes like Asian watermelon. Like it's delicious. Like you could, you know. I do know one other person. There's a place in Latner.
Nice. That sounds
Yeah.
incredible.
But it's actually way more affordable than a grocery store.
Yeah.
It's way
I
more.
think, well, that's nice to hear because you I actually was listening to the radio today and they were talking about going to a farmer's market versus the grocery store, and it came up that the farmer's market is so expensive, but I've not really always found that. I found that there are deals to be had, and it's grown locally, and it's, I don't know, we're supporting each other, you know,
Mm.
in a way.
Well, it's the only way we can accrue our wealth. I think people are not looking at the correct financial equation. I feel like quoting Jake, I think his name is Yakasaki, he's a accountant. Um, if you go, like, let's say if I grow tomatoes, I'm gonna say body butter. I'm gonna stick to my product. Okay, so you're
Okay.
gonna buy my body butter. Okay, now I buy my shea from Shanika, who imports it directly from Ghana. Okay, so by you buying this body butter, you are supporting four local businesses that all reside right here in this lower mainland, right? Ironically, we're all female run. So like as far as like girl power, it's a good thing. No, five businesses. You see, I keep like it's I'm probably gonna add as I keep going. Five local businesses. He is definitely a man though. But but the thing is that for every single dollar that someone spends, like let's say buying a magnesium body butter just to help them sleep and help with inflammation and pain and like so many things it's going to help them with, there I take that $25, okay, and that goes directly into me paying my rent to my landlord. That's local, right? Then
Right.
I go and I buy vegetable from Forest Bower and from Broken Grain. There's this amazing organic apple farmer. I literally only buy local. There's a fantastic um, butcher here on the North Shore, whose name is Nick, and I go to him. So, like, I literally take all the money that I make, and it either goes to getting food or ingredients, supporting other businesses, or it'll go to like sustaining my children and their education, right?
Right.
So nothing is actually really going out of the vicinity,
Mm.
right? Like everything is staying within the vicinity. As soon as you go a little bit like larger, I would rather eat less if it came down to that. I would rather eat less and buy better quality products than to be spending what looks like less money for, like, I mean, like, look, I went to a biodynamic farmer in Squamish this last Saturday. They had a bunch of asparagus. It was
Mhm.
an expensive bunch of asparagus. It was like this big, and they were big
Yeah.
and fat, but it was $7.
Oh,
I
wow.
think
Yeah.
asparagus in a store is like $4.99.
Yeah. It depends on the time. I mean, I think I've seen it with two bunches for $5 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I bought asparagus for more money. But I have to say, because it was really firm and it was really fresh, we each, as family members, as five of us, we each had about 4 pieces of asparagus.
Right.
I would rather have, no, it was 2 bunches, FYI. So otherwise it wouldn't have worked out. The math would have not worked out there. But it was 2 bunches. But I would rather have less asparagus, but know that it was farmed in like a non-metal, heavy metal containing
Mhm.
soil without the preservatives and the pesticides, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, even today, I think people are not understanding that DDT stays in the soil for over 50 years. We're still consuming that
Yeah.
unless you're buying your produce from a farm that has grown a lot of kale and cabbage, because kale and cabbage absorb all the toxins. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
Yeah,
I'm
I
a
do
little
not eat kale
shocked. Yeah.
unless I grow it.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid. Like, I'm a little afraid of all the stuff that's out there. So that's why, like, as a person of that, what I've done is I've gone a little bit farther than most people, because I make my own like detergent and laundry, and I make my own preservatives, and then I buy from local vendors, but I really, like, I've gone far. So when you look at like my website, it's like it looks like a gong show because there's so many different things that are going on. Um, but fundamentally, like, my whole personal focus is on education.
Mm.
I am a lit major originally, and I love reading books and telling people, listening to what they're saying, and then just waiting to jump on that opportunity to tell them what's the book that they must read that's going to transform their lives. Because we're, because, like, as women, when you see a woman, it doesn't matter if she's a herbalist or a teacher or some sort of holistic practitioner or a sound therapist. I feel like every single person is a combination of all the people that they have read and that have inspired them.
Mm.
So when I'm talking to someone and they're telling me their concerns or their sorrows or whatever they want to fix, then I feel like I kind of plug myself into some sort of I don't know, Jung's subconsciousness. And then I listen, and then I feel what is the one thing that I want them to I want them to try something that's going to open them up so that they see changes and they can go down the right path, and they can feel more like themselves and be a better I don't know, resonator of energy, healing, and love.
Mm. I mean, I just love the stuff that you do, and looks like our time is almost up, and I haven't even gotten through all the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. So I think we're going to have to do a part two,
Okay.
because today we got to the magnesium and the food part and the spirituality of the natural earth and what we put in our bodies. But I really want to pick your brain about sound baths
Oh my
and
goodness. Yeah.
and breathwork and cacao, and because I want to really go diving deep in there, and I do think that's probably going to be another 35 to 40 minute show. So
That's an entire segment on its own, I think.
on its own, yeah. So
Yes.
I love our conversation that we had today. It has been very, very educational. I hope that our viewers really take something from that. So Katerina, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come and do this interview with me. And we will talk a little bit later when to do part two. So once again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, we will see you on the next episode.